Am I the a-hole for selling my PS5 rather than sharing it with my stepbrothers? Original post. My 15-male mom and dad met and briefly dated while they were both studying at uni. My mom gave birth to me after they had broken up and had sued my dad for child support. I was raised by my mom. It had virtually nothing to do with my dad throughout my childhood. My mom was an international student, and her family cut ties with her due to the circumstances of my birth. Tragically, 2 years ago, I lost my mom to cancer, and thus I was placed under the care of my dad. My dad is remarried and has 2 sons, 5 and 7, with his wife. It wasn't a bad arrangement at first, but we were all essentially strangers. I was given a bedroom to myself and we shared some meals, but other than that, kept to myself. About 10 months ago, I was lucky enough to score a casual job at an aged care facility as IT support. It was stupid easy money as it involves installing and maintaining a dozen or so common PCs used by the residents, plus running basic computing workshops. I ended up accruing a whole lot of disposable income in a short time. Stupidly, instead of just keeping quiet about it, I decked out my room with a new TV, headphone, and a PS5. Obviously, the setup was of great interest to my 2 stepbrothers. Initially, my rule was that they could play the PS5 anytime I wasn't using it, but I would get first dibs if I wanted to play or use my TV. I was also super accommodating by buying an extra controller, which I didn't need, and several kid-friendly games that they wanted to play. I eventually had to change the rule to only play when I was there, because the 5-year-old destroyed one of my controllers through spilling juice on it. This is where the drama started. They whined to my parents, who then ordered me to place the PS5 in the living room. I refused, stating that I had purchased it with my own money. This led to their argument that I have too much money and should contribute rent, utilities, and food money. I called their bluff and said, sure, drop a contract and I'll get a lawyer to review it to ensure it complies with the Family Law Act. My dad then told the boys that he was going to buy a separate PS5 for the boys for Christmas, but the dude is clueless about the global shortage. Finally, last night, after realizing that he had zero chance of buying one for close to recommended retail price, my dad threatened me to either voluntarily gift my PS5 to the boys for Christmas, or he would toss it in the bin while I was at school. I was so pissed that I went on Facebook Marketplace and sold a PS5. The boys found out today and were devastated. I feel really bad because they shouldn't be punished for this crap show. My parents are in their room talking about me, and I'm sitting here in my room. Am I the a-hole? How could I have handled this better? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. You bought it with your own money and aren't obligated to share it. The fact that you did in the first place was very generous given PS5s are like gold dust, and your brothers clearly weren't careful when using it. Not even that. He was willing to continue sharing it as long as they used it as he was home, because his brother broke an $80 controller. Not the a-hole. Keep saving your money so you can get out of there as soon as possible. Do not let them have access to your accounts, and do not pay rent or bills. If you have somewhere else you can stay, maybe chase those leads. I'm sorry you had to do that, but you were right to. Your father and his wife sound awful. This is important, because they seem to think they have the right to your money already. So if it's a joint account, they may just take what they think they have the right to. If you have a joint account with them, talk to the bank about the issue now and ask what they can do for you. I hope he sounds like he's in Australia, in which case there would be no problem with him having an independent bank account. Now for the first update, December 18. Wow, this blew up overnight. Firstly, thanks to all the kind strangers out there giving me your positive encouragement and support. It's quite humbling that so many of you took time to read my story and chose to provide positive support. Some people were after an update of the situation. I'm at work now, but my stepmom had a chat with me this morning and it was quite positive. She said she didn't know about my existence until right before I came to live with them, and so it caused a huge rift between her and Dad. She apologized for projecting that onto me and not being more welcoming. She also didn't know about my dad's threats and told me that it won't happen on her watch. My stepbrothers also admitted to her about the juice incident. She said that she is going to get the boys a Switch for Christmas, and she offered to pay me the difference between RRP and getting a new PS5. It probably won't take the money, but at least it's a step forward. This was the longest conversation I have ever had with her too, by the way. No comments from my dad yet. Lol. To answer some common questions. 1. My bank account is entirely in my name only. Australia. No one else has ability to view or access the balance. I actually don't think my dad's demand for rent was about money. They both earn a good salary. He's just butthurt that I'm not reliant on his money. 2. Yes, I really am 15. Lol. I typed out my post in Word and so that it could be spell and grammar checked. Maybe that's what confused people? 3. I got 27.50 Australian dollars an hour on a casual contract, with additional loading for weekends. The operations manager at the aged care facility is super chill and allows me to schedule my hours around school. I just have a cap that I can't go over. She lets me do my homework on the clock and I get free meals from the cafeteria. If I help the residents and on facility devices, they usually tip me, and cashiers sometimes cookies. Lol. I've got a fair bit saved up because I don't really have any expenses. 4. I've got a shoebox of documents from when my mom passed. I think my mom's assets is looked after by a trustee firm, which will be turned over to me at 18. The law firm managing the will had previously explained this to me, but I wasn't really paying attention at the time. I've got to still go through everything. 5. I sold PS5 for a tidy profit, even with the cost of the damaged controller. I'm not desperate for one at the moment, so I'll just sign up for a waiting list again so I won't need to take up my stepmom's offer. Thanks again for the love, everyone. Your stepmom sounds lovely. I'm glad you were able to have a chat. You sound very responsible with money. Your dad needs to get over his pride and ego and be proud of you. He also needs to start communicating. To not have told your stepmom about you is really awful. He seems too focused on his image than his family. Good resolution. Of course, your dad is still the a-hole. But stepmom really stepped up and your stepbrothers are just annoying little brothers like anybody else's. Not lying or manipulative, so there's that. They just know that your dad will take up for them. Do try and build a relationship with stepbrothers. Later in life, good relationships are hard to come by, and your stepmom is a really nice person. Amazing update. I'm sorry the last 2 years have been so hard. Your dad is totally the a-hole for not telling his wife anything about having a whole other kid. Now for the second update, December 19. So we've got a gathering with the extended family today. This is the first time I've met any of them due to COVID, and they're all been super lovely to me. My stepmom showed them my original post and they're all getting stuck into dad. My uncle, dad's younger brother, has set up a Reddit account for him, and he's doubling down as he thinks Redditors will take his side when they read his account of it. I'm not going to link or read his post, but people have been telling me it's quite a bloodbath. Now for the final update. I think I just have to do one more to close everything off. There's a lot of emotions running through me right now, so I'm sorry for rambling a bit. Firstly, I'm immensely grateful to all the Redditors who reached out to me to voice your support or to make sure that I'm okay. I'm very touched. Secondly, I got to meet and spend time with my extended family today. There were over 40 of them here. They're a rowdy bunch, but they are amazing. They really made me feel welcome. Some of my cousins are gamers too, so there was an instant connection. In terms of family, it's been mostly mom and I for my whole life, so this is definitely new to me. But my new family were 100% accommodating and were very interested in me. Thirdly, my stepmom turned out to be a champ. One of the first things she did was introduce me and show everyone my Reddit post. It turned into a massive debate where nearly the whole family laid into dad, including my grandparents. At one stage, my uncle, a Redditor himself, pulled me aside and told me that, "Don't worry, mate. Your dad has always been a bit of a stubborn C-word. He'll get over it." Another amazing thing was when my nan said she knew my mom quite well, and we had a great chat about her. I think we broke dad in the process. My dad got very loud arguing with the family, and my uncle somehow trolled my dad into posting on Reddit to tell his side. He's been on his laptop in his study since then for nearly the whole night, glued to the screen. He didn't even come out for dinner. I've chosen not to read his thread, but I do know from other Redditors that he's getting absolutely wrecked. I don't know how this will end, but all I know is that I feel so much better. Whatever happens with dad, at least I have some amazing family members. Swapped some gamer tags with my cousins, and have reached some common ground with my stepmom. To think, all this started with a single Reddit post. I lack the words to describe how grateful I am. Thank you for your generosity, thank you for your love. I hope everyone out there can be as lucky as me and spend holidays with their loved ones. Sending you peace, love, and good vibes wherever you are. Now for some interesting twist, we're gonna read 2 posts from the dad concerning this incident to tell his side of the story. For the first one, am I the a-hole for asking my son to share his console with his brothers instead of keeping it in his room? A few days ago, my bias son Jonah, not real name, posted a biased and frankly defamatory post about an incident in my home regarding a PS5. My wife was kind enough to share the post and comments with our entire extended family at our Christmas gathering, so apparently now I'm a huge a-hole. My brother suggested that I post here to set records straight and give people both sides of the issue. Firstly, I never actually intended to charge Jonah rent. His job gives him essentially 100% disposable income purely because he lives in our household. He used this money to deck out his room, buy brand new shoes, buy the latest iPhone, etc., all for himself. I couldn't care less about how he spends his money, but it does set a poor example for my other 2 boys. The last straw was when Jonah set a login password for the PS5. I basically told him that if he's not willing to share, then why should I give him a free ride? My son should be grateful. While we shared DNA, I only dated his mom, May, not actual name, for all of 5 months back in uni. I was very clear with May that I didn't want kids, but apparently consent doesn't go both ways. May put me through legal hell and ended up costing me tens of thousands of dollars over the years in child support, setting my own goals back. Instead of letting Jonah end up in a group home, I stepped up and took him in when May got sick. Instead of gratitude, I constantly have to deal with disrespect and attitude. Because of Jonah, my wife thinks I breached her trust all for something that happened well before I met her. While the boys previously did have access to PS5, I now won't let them play it now that school is finished for the year unless he's home, which he never is. I gave him the ultimatum of either sharing the console or no one gets to play it. In response, he pulls the most passive-aggressive move ever and sold it, so now no one plays it. So listen, how am I the a-hole here? I've taken in this kid into my home, a kid who by the way will receive a sizable inheritance in a few years thanks to Mason's estate. I've given him a home, a family, and fund his lifestyle, all at the cost of my own relationship. In return, I haven't asked for a cent, and he won't treat me with respect nor follow my rules. But somehow I'm the giant a-hole who's in the study typing this out, instead of enjoying Christmas with my extended family. Instead of attacking me, I'm hoping people will now give their fair opinion of the situation based on seeing both sides of the story. You're the a-hole. I've given him a home. Newsflash, Dad. That's literally your job. Quit acting like you're doing some damn gift of charity for a kid you created. Reminds me of a time when I was broke and I asked my dad for money. After he gave it to me and I thanked him, he turned to me and said, "Never thank me. No matter how old you get, I'm still your father, and that's what I'm supposed to do. Hence why I spoil my parents like crazy whenever I can." My father has always said he has money in his pocket and a room in his house for all of us no matter what. He learned it from his parents. It's a no-brainer to him. Okay, clearly this hasn't gone down the direction I thought it would. Clearly some of you have issues with comprehension, or just can't be bothered reading my comments fully. I want to be clear. I never threatened to collect rent from Jonah. I don't need his part-time work money or about his inheritance money. I make a very good salary, probably more than the vast majority of people who use Reddit. I simply tried to explain to him that he has all this disposable income because he doesn't have to worry about basic needs. I didn't explain it properly at the time because we were arguing, but my intention wasn't for Jonah to give his PS5 to the kids permanently. I just wanted it to keep in a common area until I can buy another one for the kids. Jonah never told me about the controller. If he had, of course I would have replaced it. That's not an issue. I expected him to not be so selfish to his brothers. Keeping it in his room under password protection is so rude. Jonah gets home really late most days, so my kids are in bed by the time he gets back. I won't debate the nuances about sex and custody. I'm not an idiot. I understand perfect consent and parental responsibilities. I will just say that there is a large gap between consenting to be intimate versus consenting to having a child. I get that our current laws are against me on this one. I didn't intend to lie to my wife. Jonah and May were something way into the distant past for me. Our settlement agreement was very clear in that. I had absolutely zero communication with May or Jonah for at least the 10 years prior to finding about her illness. My child support was at a fixed rate, so I had actually paid her out a lump sum that was supposed to take care of him until 18. It wasn't like it was getting taken out of pay every week. As far as I knew, I was never supposed to hear from Jonah or May ever again. Why would I tell my wife about something like that? Yes, Jonah is a new addition to our family. Yes, I get all of this isn't his fault. I don't love him yet, and to be fair, he hasn't made it easy. I will try to. This thing takes time. You all act like it's easy. And now for another post from the dad that was posted very recently. Am I the a-hole for intercepting and eating my son's food delivery while he was grounded? My eldest son, 16, is undergoing a hormonal-fueled rebellious phase. His behavior consists of things like rolling his eyes when I talk, back-chatting when I tell him to do something, overemphasizing putting on his headphones when I enter the room, and a whole laundry list of other passive-aggressive behaviors. It was his birthday yesterday, but he was going to go out with his friends this weekend to celebrate by paintballing. However, when I got home from work yesterday, I noticed that he had failed to do some chores I had set him, and then did a whole headphones routine when I started telling him off for it. I got so sick of his attitude and that I threatened to ground him for 2 weeks, which means not letting him leave the house except for work. The words clearly cut through his headphones, and it dawned on him that he would not be allowed to go paintballing this weekend. So he took off his headphones and said, "Go screw yourself," and then shut himself in his room. This naturally led to his actual grounding. The grounding didn't seem to faze him as he spends a lot of time in his room anyway. I cut off his devices from our home Wi-Fi, but it works around this by having own hotspot. He refused to come out for dinner last night when my wife asked him to. It has basically barricaded himself in his room. At 10 p.m. last night, he ordered himself a meal via a delivery app. Again, he has clearly been passive-aggressive here, flaunting his independence as he has a perfected lovely meal in the fridge made by my wife. I was still up watching TV, so intercepted the delivery and ate the meal myself. At some point, my son must have come out and seen me, but retreated back to his room without saying anything. My wife thinks I am a major a-hole for eating the meal, but I think it comes part and parcel with the grounding. My wife also thinks I'm too harsh with him due to the grounding. I let him go to paintball if he apologizes. So am I the a-hole here, Reddit? You're the a-hole. Yeah, it's pretty weird that you ate the meal, an act that has no disciplinary value. Other options included putting it in the refrigerator for the next day and telling him not to order out when a prepared meal is available. Did it make you feel like a big man after he cursed at you? Oh, you're the dad who tried to steal his kid's PS5, then got ripped apart by your family and your wife. What did your brother call you again? A stubborn C-word? You're flexing here. You hate that your teenager who you gave a home to, father of the year by the way, is being backed up by everyone around you. So you're acting like, well, exactly like your brother described you. Grow up. You're the a-hole. Right? Like, didn't he even say that he couldn't find it in himself to actually love his own child? Yeah, no sympathy for me. OP, you're the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for leaving my boyfriend for no reason? Original post. I, 26 female, had been with my now ex-boyfriend Eric, 28 male, for 2 years. Overall, we had a good relationship. Nothing crazy until last night when everything completely fell apart. We were out at a bar with some of his friends, just having a normal night. Drinks, food, the usual. Eric and his friend Mark, 28 male, were joking around. And Eric made a comment about how much Mark was eating. He said something like, "Careful, Mark, you'll eat the whole damn bar." It seemed harmless at first, just typical guy humor. But then Mark looked right at me and said, "If only she knew." It was one of those moments where you instantly feel uncomfortable, like there's something going on behind your back. I had no idea what Mark was talking about, and the vibe at the table shifted immediately. Before I could even react, Eric exploded. He went off on Mark, yelling at him to shut the heck up. I'd even try to get physical. His other friends had to hold him back. Mark didn't react, which only seemed to make Eric angrier.
The whole thing was incredibly awkward and we ended up leaving early. When we got back to my place, I couldn't stop thinking about that comment. I asked Eric, what did Mark mean by if only she knew? What don't I know? Instead of answering me, Eric lost it again. He started yelling at me, telling me to drop it and stop being paranoid. He dodged every question and got more angry each time I brought it up. I wasn't trying to pick a fight. I just wanted to know what was going on. It felt like there was something important being hidden from me, and I wasn't about to let it slide. But every time I asked, he became more defensive and angry. Eventually, he stormed out of my apartment. Since he doesn't live with me, I locked the door and called it a night. I didn't hear from him until this morning, and when I did, it was just more angry texts telling me to drop it and leave him alone. At that point, I was done. I'm not going to sit around and be treated like I'm crazy for asking a simple question. I texted him back saying we're done, that I need space, and if he can't be honest with me, then I don't want any part of this relationship. End of story. But here's where it gets worse. Eric has been going around to our mutual friends, telling them that I left him for no reason and making it seem like I'm the one who overreacted. Some of them have even reached out to me, saying I should have just let it go and that I'm blowing things out of proportion. I told them to mind their own business. None of them were there, none of them saw how he acted, and none of them have to live with a pit in their stomach that I've had since Mark's weird comment. I'm not going to stay in a relationship where I feel like something shady is going on behind my back. If Eric can't be straight with me after 2 years together, then what's the point? So Reddit, am I the a-hole for leaving him over this? Now for the top comments before reading the update. I get the distinct feeling that this is not the first time you've gotten on him about possible infidelity. You're right, sadly. A few months ago, he was staying out late when going out with friends. I asked him about it, and he stopped going out with his friends because you want this. You don't want me to be happy. Not the a-hole. Between the keeping secrets and the acting crazy, it sounds like this experience was the nail in the coffin from some previous red flags. Not the a-hole. You didn't leave for no reason. It sounds like it's good that you did. If they keep pushing, tell them to ask Eric what Mark meant. Maybe they'll see it for themselves. Nah, you're not the a-hole. Trusting your gut is important. And if he can't communicate, then you deserve better. Exactly. Not the a-hole. Eric's defensiveness and refusal to explain Mark's comments are huge red flags. You deserve honesty, and leaving a relationship where you feel something is off is completely valid. Trust your gut. You're not overreacting. Now for the update. I feel like I'm living in some kind of twisted nightmare, and the more I try to make sense of it, the worse it gets. Today, Mark called me while I was at work. I didn't expect him to call because he'd been ignoring me. I stepped outside to take the call, and he told me something I never could have prepared for in a million years. He said that Eric has been putting other men's emission into my food, drinks, skincare, products, shampoo, conditioner, and even my toothpaste. I'm not exaggerating. This is exactly what Mark told me. Apparently, Eric has been hooking up with random men, collecting their fluids in cups, and then using it in my meals and drinks, as if it were some kind of sick joke. Even as I write this, I'm still in complete disbelief. Who does that to someone? Mark said he found out about it a week ago, but for some reason, it took him that long to tell me. A whole week. I've been living my life, completely oblivious, trusting Eric, someone I loved, while this was happening behind my back. I feel so betrayed, disgusted, and violated. I asked Mark if he and Eric were having an affair, or if this was some sort of twisted thing between them. He swore they weren't, even making a gross comment about not wanting to touch Eric, because who knows what diseases he has. That made my stomach turn. I'm getting tested for everything now because I have no idea what's been in my body. When I got home, I went straight to the kitchen. Mark told me to check under the sink, and there they were, the cups, hidden behind the cleaning supplies. I lost it. I threw out everything in the kitchen and bathroom, even things I knew hadn't been touched. I don't care. Everything feels contaminated now. My home doesn't feel like a safe space anymore. Every time I walk into the kitchen, I feel like I'm going to throw up. I can't even function without my mind going to dark places, thinking about all the times I had no idea this was happening. I don't have any solid proof beyond Mark's words and those disgusting cups, and I feel so powerless. If nothing can be done about this, I honestly don't know how I'm going to cope. How is this even legal? How can someone get away with something so vile? I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust anyone again. This whole thing is messing with my head in ways I can't even explain. I feel dirty, violated on such a deep level, and there's nothing I can do to undo it. My mom wants me to check into a hospital to make sure I'm okay mentally, and I'm honestly going to do it. I don't feel stable right now. I don't feel like myself. I'm scared I might hurt myself or someone else. The most confusing part is that Eric was eating the same food. He was consuming the contaminated food right alongside me. Was it some kind of kink? A power trip? I don't even know anymore. All I know is that the man I thought I knew, the man I loved, is a complete stranger to me now. I can't believe I've been living with someone capable of something so vile. I feel like I'm losing my mind, and I don't know how I'm going to recover from this. How could he do this to me? I'm genuinely losing it. I'm a danger to myself, and I'm not going to be on here for a while. I'm checking myself into the hospital. It was only 2 days ago that you posted this. Go get all of the items you threw away out of the garbage and turn them into the police. There's your solid proof. You threw it away. And by the way, it is not legal. If those items are tested and come back positive, he is going to jail. Not a-hole. I hope you get justice. Everything I threw out was in the kitchen garbage, so it didn't get taken on trash day. My mom and cousin went to my house with the police to get it for evidence. I'm pressing charges against him. Next story. Am I the a-hole for being disgusted and just saying okay when my fiancé broke up with me? I, 28 female, had been with my fiancé Alex, 34 male, since 2020. We met at a friend's party, hit it off, and had been together ever since. He finished his doctorate in economics last year and started working at the university. I have a master's in media sciences and decided to start working instead of pursuing a PhD. Everything fell apart last Monday when Alex suddenly broke up with me. The past few months had been strange. He was making random demands and then dropping them immediately. For example, he suggested we repaint the dark green walls to white. When I asked why, he snapped. For Pete's sake. Forget it. I'd never mention it again. Another time, he got upset because I was lying on a couch under a blanket. I had cramps, accusing me of just sitting there watching Netflix, even though the house was spotless. When I tried to discuss it, he brushed it off as not a big deal. These incidents became more frequent. Every time I tried to communicate and figure out if something was wrong or if he was just stressed, he would insist everything was fine, but he clearly seemed angry. He found something to complain about constantly: the apartment, my clothes, me, his work. I decided to give him some space, but even that seemed to be wrong. When I told him I'll be helping my parents with some repairs for a few days, he got upset because he wanted to renovate our apartment too. Last Monday, I received a text saying we needed to talk. I had a feeling this was coming, and I had made peace with the idea that it might be over. When I got home, he was sitting on a couch and didn't even wait for me to take off my jacket before saying, "I want to break up." Then he launched into a rant. He said he resented me because I didn't pursue my academic career further, even though I was capable. He admitted he had kept his feelings to himself because he didn't want to upset me. He then brought up the fact that, while he was a PhD student making very little money, I had started earning more. He felt like I had a final say financially, even though I never imposed that on him. It was his own perception, and he resented it. He continued saying he hated the paint color, the couch, and even our crockpot. Then, he revealed that he had been accepted into a better PhD program overseas, but turned it down to stay because I had already started my job. He said I ruined his life because he saw a friend in that program thriving and felt like he had sacrificed too much for our relationship. He claimed I had too much control over his life and that he hated the idea that I could screw him over financially, even though I have no idea what he meant by that. He also said he was frustrated that all his friends liked me and wouldn't let him vent about me. After all that, he simply said, "I'm done." I was floored, but after hearing that rant, I was mostly disgusted. I had already accepted that our relationship might end, But his outburst left me with no doubt. I looked at him and said, "Okay." That response sent him to a rage. He said this was exactly what he meant, that it was horrible that we had been together for 4 years, and all I could say was, "Okay." I asked if he wanted to stay in the apartment while he figured out his next steps, and he accused me of holding the apartment over him and began ranting again. So I just left. I told my parents and they were as confused as I was. My dad suggested I talk to our landlord to see what options I had. I can cover the rent myself with no problem, as Alex only contributed to utilities and a few subscriptions. To be clear, I never had an issue with our financial situation. I saw Alex chasing his dreams, and that was more important to me than splitting expenses 50-50. I made good money and was happy at my job. I never saw it as a burden. I always believed that my money was our money because we were building a life together. Of course, I had my own savings and fun money, but I never cared about a split as long as he was working towards something meaningful. Now, Alex is still angry. He alternates between robotic texts about logistics and being a seething jerk, complaining about everything. I'm no longer hurt. I'm just nauseated by him at this point. Should I have reacted differently? Edit. Thank you for all your opinions. It felt good to get this off my chest. Just to clarify, I don't feel like a victim. It's clear that something changed and our relationship went bad. He acted like an a-hole, but that's the extent of it. It's obvious something is going on with him, but he doesn't want me to be a part of whatever it is, and I have to respect that. Now, I just need to disentangle myself from him legally, and then I'll be left with the ugly green walls. I might also adopt a cat, since my ex was really allergic. Not a-hole. Dude basically said he hates you and everything about you. What are you supposed to do? Beg for his love when you can find someone who'll give it to you readily? Nah. Sorry this happened and that you were blindsided, but this will be a good thing in the long run. On to the next. For what it's worth, he sounds jealous, insecure, and emotionally stunted. If what you've written is how things played out, then you dodged a huge bullet. He was basically doing his own renditions of 10 things I hate about you. I don't know. I mean, he wants to break up with me. Why would I plead? It is done. OP, you are incompatible. You are successful while he is a loser. PhD but can't communicate. Econ major but didn't know there is no money in the university. Resents you for his decisions. You dodged a nuclear crazy one. I think working in the uni is really admirable and is really hard. Professors and researchers are amazing, and I think there should be more money in academia. That is why I never minded being the breadwinner. Dude basically hates himself for decisions he took without ever consulting you. He chose his comforts, but now since others seem in a better position, he is venting on you and making you the culprit. Not a-hole, but your man has a little brain and doesn't know what to do with it. I would have supported him if he wanted to move away. I don't know if we would have stayed together because LDRs are hard, but I would have been 100% supportive. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my brother a character letter to help his court trail after what he did to a friend's daughter? So I, 28 female, have a brother, 31 male, who is looking at serving time in prison for relations with a minor, 14 female, who is one of my friend's daughter. This has been going on for months as evidence states, and we only found out a few weeks ago. When I found out about this, I had a discussion with my friend and apologized for what happened. But understandably, she wants space. I have also cut off my brother, as this whole situation is just disgusting to me. My parents, however, have stayed by his side and are trying to say the only reason he did what he did is because he has autism and didn't know what he was doing was wrong. Despite them being shown text messages, where he states himself that what he was doing was bad and he could be sent to prison for it. However, after they spoke to my brother's lawyer, he stated that we could each write up a character letter to be presented for him in court, so the judge can have better understanding of who he is beside the incident. But I refused because I don't think he deserves it. I'm currently 6 months pregnant and I don't want my daughter to be around or grow up with a man like my brother. I've spoken to my husband about this for another opinion, and he agrees with me not submitting a character letter. But we are thinking of talking to the children that my brother was around in the family, just to make sure that he doesn't done anything to them. My mother is dying and she says she doesn't want to pass while her son is serving time in prison for something that, in her words, wasn't that bad. Both her and my father are pressuring me to do this, and seeing them so upset is hard for me. But whenever I even think about doing it, it makes me sick. I just wanted to ask for everyone else's opinion on what I should do. Me and my brother were extremely close up until this point, which I think is making this harder for me. Should I cut out my parents too? Should I make the letter? Not the a-hole. I didn't even need to read past the first few sentences. People like him don't deserve remorse. Nor do they need people minimizing their actions as it wasn't too bad. For who? The victim? The child that was groomed by their adult son? OP, 100% not the a-hole, and if necessary, go low or no contact with those who are supportive of your brother. Make it clear to your mom that any character statement you give will make it explicitly clear that brother's autism is not and will never be an excuse. That he has full mental faculties and ability to make legal and moral choices, as well as the fact he knows damn well that what he did is wrong. I'm autistic. Anyone with autism incapable of monitoring themselves is the legal responsibility of those caring for them. If your brother truly was incapable of understanding what he was doing, then he should be living with your parents, under constant supervision, with heavy limits to online facilities and his phone/search history regularly checked. Either he's capable of being a disgusting offender all by himself and has hidden it all this time because he knows what he's done is wrong, or your parents willingly and knowingly enabled him to rape a minor. Because that's what it is. She's beneath the age of consent. See if you can get hold of the text messages where he admits he knew it was wrong to hand in to the police. People like him will not stop until they are stopped. Your friend's daughter is, so far, the most accessible victim he could get his hands on. If everyone outside family keeps their children away from him, he'll turn on the kids he does have access to. Not the a-hole. My boss flipped out after I quit, and now he's threatening consequences. Original post. So, I joined this small tech R&D firm about 3 years ago. The boss is a former math major who started a company in his mid-20s. Initially, he had some early successes, winning a handful of awards totaling around $13 million in the first couple of years. When I joined, there were 13 people, and the place had this weird cultish vibe. Everyone called him the leader. He was super into coaching everyone and was always giving guidance. Fine, whatever. I was skeptical but seemed like a good opportunity. During my final interview, he even had a human psych professor, his mentor, on the line to assess me. Weird? Yes, but okay. As time went on, I realized the entire company was full of yes men who were enamored with this guy's wisdom. He was always reading business theory books, obsessed with writing, and basically thought academic skills mattered more than actual business skills. Every decision was based on something he read, not an intuition or experience. He wasn't a businessman. He was an academic who happened to start a business. Shortly after I joined, he made the lead engineer, who he had coached, into a proxy CEO while he took a backseat. Problem was, the lead engineer didn't want to lead, didn't know how to make decisions, and had to run everything by the boss anyway, who was basically AWOL. The boss was off trying to find investors, but couldn't close any deals because his negotiation skills were purely theoretical and not rooted in any real-world experience. Fast forward 2 years and we're not winning any awards. Then one day after a big demo, the boss lays off half the company. No warning, no heads up, because his advisor told him to just cut everyone loose. The next day, the boss took a 2-week vacation, leaving me, the lead engineer, and one senior programmer to do everything. Yep, seriously. We busted our butts and won a small award. But then the lead engineer quit. After 8 years of loyalty and burnout, when he told the boss he was leaving, the boss basically said, "Don't let the door hit you on the way out." A few months later, the senior programmer quit too. So now it's just me running the entire technical effort. There's one other person, a program manager, who deals with customers but mostly comes to me for help with anything resembling actual work. She's been with the company since day one and balances the boss's complete lack of people skills. Oh, and yeah, she's mentioned that she thinks he might be on the spectrum. For the last 6 months, I've been doing everything, seeking new business, working on current projects, trying to market and move our products. You name it, I'm doing it. Then a few weeks ago, my boss comes to me, all weepy, and says he can't assure the longevity of my job, so if I need stability, I should find something else. We talk a bit and I say I'm still working here hard, but nothing changes his attitude. He doesn't respect me or the two of us still here. He just keeps pushing and micromanaging. Yesterday, after a 2-hour working session, he tells me he wants to coach me. He says, "You have a great ownership skills, great technical skills, great leadership skills, but you need to have better directability. I need to be able to tell you and direct you in what to do." I'm sitting there nodding along, but in my head, I'm like, seriously? There's no one left. I'm carrying this company. You aren't doing the work. Do you even know how to do the work? This guy has never worked for anyone. All his decisions come from stuff he's read, not from actual experience. Who are you to coach me when I've got 10 years of real-world grind experience? And then he goes off talking about the future success of the firm and how he needs more control. Control of the two of us who haven't quit yet. Oh, and when the other engineers quit, the boss had an emergency meeting with me and a program manager to talk about the firm's future and vision. But it was all theoretical nonsense. He started yelling at us when we asked actual questions about concrete steps we could take. He just wanted to go on about our values rather than actually build a plan. And don't even get me started on his non-stop requests for reports. He critiques every word, analyzing them to death. I'm like, dude, we could have a 2-minute conversation and I'd answer all your questions. But nope, he needs written reports. Recently, he sent me a feedback document from one of our bids. And it's like, read this and explain it to me. Dude, it's not that complicated. Just read it. Then, after I explain, he asks for more clarification and proof that I'm right. I've been here almost 3 years, doing everything, and he still doesn't trust me to understand a simple document? At this point, I'm just waiting out the interviews I'm in the later stages of because I cannot deal with this anymore. Let's read the top comments before reading the update. Okay, what? The boss is a moron and at least somewhat verbally abusive with no real leadership skills or knowledge. And yet you've stayed there for 3 years running the entire technical side and letting him run roughshod all over you? Why are you just looking for a new job now? If OP leaves, boss likely has to completely shut the company and can salvage some cash out of it. As it stands, OP has been drawing a paycheck while boss digs a deeper and deeper debt hole. They aren't making money, which means boss is building more debt the whole time. It's the long burn. Boss won't take any responsibility, but he'll be equally forked. Yeah, this is what my family's all saying. If I quit, the company is screwed. I think he would get a contractor to finish whatever work we do have and then go back to consulting. OP should start his own business and become a direct competitor. Take all the useful employees. Take all the customers. I want to. Money's the problem. And product. I can't just market myself. And I don't have the resources, money, product, idea, etc. to start anything right now. The only question I have is, why you didn't leave sooner? I don't want to keep leaving jobs. I had to stay long enough for it to not be a red flag for future employers. Now for the update 2 months later. After grinding through endless micromanagement and carrying my entire department on my back, I finally accepted a new job offer. I sent my boss an email letting him know I'd be resigning and offered 2 options. I could finish my high-priority writing project, the one I kept emphasizing, and leave by mid-month, or I could stay until the end of the month to wrap up everything, including the technical project and all the admin/business tasks I'd been handling solo. My new job was starting on the 28th, so for the past week, I've been working both jobs. My new one from 9 to 5 and the old one from 5 p.m. until midnight, or later. I documented everything down to the smallest detail, so he'd have all he needed.
I didn't feel I needed to spell this schedule out to him since the company always operated on flexible hours. He replied saying he was disappointed but understood, so I thought we were good. But then he called and let me know just how disappointed he was. Apparently, I was supposed to seek his blessing before leaving. The irony? When he hired me, he didn't even want to give me 2 weeks to leave my last role. He expected me to start the Monday after sending the offer on a Thursday. From the day I submitted my resignation until my last day, my boss was mostly absent. I kept sending him detailed update emails, asking if he needed anything else and checking in to make sure he'd be set for the transition. But he was nowhere to be found. You'd think he'd be the most engaged at this point. This is his company, and I'm literally the last technical employee left, apart from the program manager, whom he actually instructed me not to inform of my departure until the day before I left. I practically had to chase him down to ensure he was getting everything he needed. For someone who's repeatedly insisted on control and micromanaged endlessly, he was oddly disengaged and unresponsive during the only time it really mattered. So, he scheduled a handoff meeting for Thursday at 2 p.m., but I already had meetings for my new job. I suggested 4 p.m., and he got upset, questioning why I was still working if I'd already quit. I clarified that I was splitting my time for a smooth transition, and he absolutely lost it. I explained it was either this arrangement or leaving him high and dry, but he was still furious. Finally, at 4 p.m., he showed up for the meeting, his first involvement in any part of the transition. He asked for a full walkthrough of everything. I had already put it all in writing, with flawless documentation, reports, and tutorials, but I ran through it anyway. For hours, no breaks. Every single question answered, everything demonstrated. When we wrapped up, he said, "We might still need some guidance on things." I started to say, for what it's worth, I never meant to, but he cut me off, saying he's seeking counsel on how to deal with his situation. He claimed nobody's ever done this to him before, then vaguely threatened to figure out what he needs to report before storming off. I'm beyond frustrated. Despite everything, I really try to leave on good terms. I busted my butt to get every last detail done, even working long hours after quitting to make sure everything was flawless for him. I kept things professional, communicated often, and documented every project and process. I was ready to put this behind me and try to reach out for a genuine conversation at the end, maybe even find a bit of closure. But instead, he had to make things difficult, ignoring all my efforts until the last second, then dragging me through a grueling 4-hour session. When I tried to wrap it up amicably, he shut me down with a vague threat and stormed off. He made a tough ending even worse, and it's a huge relief to finally be done with it. Quit immediately and let him drown. He is an insufferable prick. Hey, too late. Already handed it all off. Plus, didn't want to give him a bigger reason to accuse me of malicious intent. That is, theft, damages, etc. Unless you have a signed contract stipulating a longer notice period, there is absolutely nothing he can do to retaliate legally. As things stand, you were more than professional in giving him notice and ensuring a good handoff. Whatever counsel he is looking for will tell him the same thing. If you are in the US, most states are at will, meaning neither party needs to give any notice for the end of employment. And there is no legal consequences, outside of government jobs and some other small exceptions. Good on you for finally getting out of there, and not give them another thought and focus on your new job with hopefully a better environment. I'm concerned more that he'll try to rack up some sort of malicious activity complaint, stealing/mishandling IP, deleting stuff, etc. Obviously, my counter to that is that I handed everything off with 0 problems and went above and beyond to get it to him. But it would be such a headache. Or like, what if he finds out who I'm working for and reports me to them? No worries, his place is closing soon. Really hope he finds something to do or wins something. He has a big family, wouldn't want him to actually have financial hardship. Second update. The following morning, my ex-boss emailed me with the standard exit paperwork. In this, he included his version of the timeline of events since I resigned, an excerpt from some onboarding paperwork where I agreed not to disparage the company, work for a competing company, etc. He also claimed that I had committed to provide ongoing support as needed for the next 12 months.
Finally, he wanted all the home office equipment I received when I started working returned. A mismatched chair, desk, headphones, etc. I sent back a very direct and pointed email with my version of events, detailing everything I had done for him, and firmly stated that I did not commit and will not provide ongoing support. I haven't heard back since. While coordinating dropping off my home office equipment with the program manager, she offered and coordinated with the boss for me to buy the equipment for $500, actual value close to $1,500. So I got to keep my setup for a good price. I mailed a check, sent an email confirming the agreement, and I am done. Done. To those saying I was simping too hard or shouldn't have worked so much, I take pride in my work. If I'm leaving, I won't give anyone an option to say the company failed because of me or something I did. Or worse, for my ex-boss to go to my new employer and throw me under the bus. B, ethically, I have a responsibility to do the work I'm paid to do. I was still being paid, so I did the work. C, there was a lot of strange paperwork I had to sign when I joined the company. I did more than I might have needed to cover my bases. Last story. My brother is broke and wants me to buy him a house. My brother is a lot older than me, and for the last 20 years, he has lived in a fully owned 4-bedroom house and after his divorce in several different huge rented houses. He's taken multiple foreign holidays per year, drives Audi/Mercedes level cars, owns his own business, and seemed to be doing really well. I can honestly say I didn't feel a shred of jealousy, envy, or resentment while I lived in small 2- and 3-bedroom houses in a poorer area. Maybe we went camping or took a very cheap holiday once a year. We saved up for 2 years to go to Greece that one time. I was happy with what I had, which I want to make clear was a perfectly normal standard of living for my family and my own children. I was pleased for him when he told me about his holiday plans. I'd often visit him in these houses and tell him how great they were, super proud of him, looking up to him, thinking it was great he was doing so well. Last week, he told me he's in massive personal and business debt and will be homeless in around a month's time. This happened at a very strange time for me. I landed an amazing job 6 years ago, and through a combination of luck, years of hard work, and intelligence, I was promoted to a high level. I'm now going to receive, for me, life-changing quantities of RSUs. You can probably figure out what I'm doing. I still live in a very small house, but my wife and I aspire to a place by the sea where we can walk the dog. I also want to set up for my kids for university and prepare them for their own lives in this current cost of living crisis. He asked that I use the money I'll be receiving to buy him a nice house. He suggested I keep ownership as an investment and that he would pay rent. Now we're at the off-my-chest part. There is no way I'm using this life-changing money to continue a lifestyle for someone else that was far in excess of what I had, and that would come at the cost of that kind of life for myself and my children. I told him I can pay rent on a flat for 3 months, so he isn't homeless. But I'm not buying him a house to live in. I'm not investing in property. And even if I were, I'd never rent to family. That's a mess waiting to happen. Would I evict him if he stopped paying rent? Maybe I feel guilty. Maybe I need strangers on the internet to validate me or tell me I'm wrong. I just needed to get this off my chest. I can't really talk to other family members about it because that would mean disclosing my RSUs and that everyone would know I have money now. As for me, I plan to keep my costs within my means. I know this job could go away at any point, so I need to save while I can. It's crazy that he even suggested you to buy him a house. You've made a very generous offer to help him find a flat and pay rent. I wish I had someone offer to help me find a place and pay rent for 3 months. More than generous. Do not pay for anything, including his rent. Do not enable his behavior. He knew this situation and still chose to increase his debt over time with no plan to do anything about it. And now the plan is for someone else to cover him? He needs to learn to live within his means. This is not your responsibility. Thanks, I needed to hear that. I made the offer, so I won't go back on it, but that's it. Make sure you stick to your 3-month limit. Write it in a contract if you need it. If you can, make sure this hypothetical flat is in an area he should be able to afford. No high-rises or penthouse.
He's going to ask for 3 more months, then 3 more. My friend Lisa's father was always overspending on going out, drinking, generally being irresponsible. He borrowed money endlessly, until one day he had burned all his bridges. He asked Lisa to let him move in with her, as he was completely broke. She said it broke her heart, but she said no. She said she would let him come over to her place once a week to shower, and would bring him a bag of food once a week. She arranged to meet him on a certain bus bench at a certain time. She said it was the hardest thing she ever had to do, leaving him there. But within a few weeks, he had found an apartment complex where he could do janitor/landscaping work in return for sleeping in a storage room. He got another part-time job and started saving money. Within a year, he had gotten himself sorted out. Sometimes letting someone fail is the best thing for them. That's sobering. I don't see this coming to such a situation, but that's certainly some perspective.